From the Seattle Times, check it out. Trump tariffs wipe out $2.5 trillion from U.S. stock market. And I got to say, ladies and gentlemen, this year to date, I'm down 20%. I'm down 20. And you know what? I don't care. And you know why Trump don't care and why I don't care about any of these stocks? I don't want to see the companies harmed. I get it, but I ain't crying about it. Let me give you some stats. So I asked my good friend ChatGPT, how many people in this country have a 401k? 34% of Americans have a 401k. So when Trump makes these moves, 34% of people are impacted. Okay, I don't want to see anybody lose money. You know, bad policy is bad policy, but this ain't the majority. This is only a third of the country. So the majority of the country who don't have these accounts are not feeling this pain. It gets better. I went on to ask our good friend ChatGPT, what percent have a stock portfolio? It tries giving me these fake answers. So the first time I asked it, what percent of Americans have 401ks? It says 70% of private sector employees have access to 401k style plans. I said, whoa. That is not what I asked you. I said, oh, you're right. It's 34%. When I said what percent of a stock portfolio, it says actually through a variety of different vehicles. No. I said, that's not what I asked you. It said, okay, 58% of Americans have a stock portfolio. Here's where it gets better. Despite broad participation, the top 10% of income earners own 87% of corporate equities and mutual funds. So when you see Apple, Amazon, Nvidia, Microsoft, Meta, Alphabet, Tesla, Broadcom, Walmart, JP Morgan dropping, and the media is going, oh, woe is me, Democrats, quick, we're in pain, Donald Trump's tariff plans. What they're really saying is, quick, wealthy people, we're upset. So I'm wondering if Donald Trump, when he makes these moves, and they say in the media, oh, the stocks are tanking and people's retirements and all that stuff. I wonder if Donald Trump is actually just thinking, I got to be honest, I don't care about these people. They're rich. The person who has the top 10% of this country, are they really going to be hurt by this right now? They probably didn't even know what the cost of eggs was, to be completely honest. Now, I got to tell you guys, I don't know, and I haven't known for a long time, how much a dozen eggs costs. Because I have my own chickens. And you too can have your own chickens and never worry about those costs again. But the reality is for the top 10% of this country, they don't know what milk costs. They don't know what bread costs. They don't care about this stuff. It's the working class Americans who are going to benefit from this first and foremost. And they're not going to cry about someone's portfolio dropping.
Mm-hmm. I think this graph also doesn't do a good job of showing how overvalued, obviously, the stock market is. So like if you pulled up Apple stock for the past 5 years, it's obviously very overdue for a correction.
The Magnificent Seven are holding up the stock market.
And like, also if you, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Apple has not innovated or invented anything substantial in 25 freaking years.
Well, I gotta pause you there.
They don't.
They've not invented anything substantial. We can sentence cut off. Apple is famous for taking existing things and marketing it better.
Yeah, but they haven't even done that.
He's a genius. You know, he knows how to market. My favorite thing was how he took Unix, slapped his brand on it, and sold it for a crap load of money when it was a free software to begin with. But hey, bravo to Apple, right?
It's those curvy edges that
those
people
curvy
really
edges
like.
and the weight. They like it feeling heavy.
There's something about how they feel.
But he gets it. He gets it. Now take a look at this, ladies and gentlemen. This may shock you. I have for you the Dow Jones Industrial Average, and as you can see over the past 5 years, where's the market drop off? No, I know, I get it. Looking over the past 5 years and seeing that in 5 years, the market is up 92.59% doesn't get at what's happening today. But my point is, look at every time the market drops. We're here. Is there any strong difference from any time we've seen a big market drop? Here you go in 2022 from 33 down to 28. Okay, today we saw 44 down to 40.5. Look, I got to be honest. When you zoom in on today, they go, oh no, the market's tanking. When you look at it over the past 5 years, you're like, can't really see a strong difference between today and yesterday.
This is the Dow Jones. If you look at any of the Mag 7 stocks, the difference is even more prominent. It's even more ridiculous, like Amazon or even Tesla or I think even Microsoft, all of these stocks. Nvidia is the most infamous one because they have the most outrageous PE.
It is a big drop today. Don't get me wrong. 1,679 for the day, nearly 4% is big.
Yeah.
Very big. In 5 days, 4%. In 1 month, 6%. 6 months, 3%. Year to date, -4%. In 1 year, it's actually up 3.63. So that's obviously into the Biden administration. But the point is, when you look at the 5 years, it's like there's a ton of moments where the stocks dropped. It's ebbs and flows. So the question now is going to be, will Trump's tariffs result in other countries changing their policies, investing in America, and making trade better for us? And it looks like the answer is it's already started.
It would be very smart of them. I suspect within the next month or two, we'll see most of these tariffs drop. Except for the big countries like China, I think there's going to be issues with down the line.
I'll tell you, the only thing I care about right now, there's two groups of people in this country that I care about. Working class Americans who are raising children and Gen Z. Gen Z needs to be able to establish families, otherwise we cease to exist. The middle class working families of various ages, from Gen Z to elder millennial, even younger Gen X, need money for their children. I don't care about boomers. Sorry, boomers. I don't care about you. I don't care about silent generation, and I don't care about the wealthy. I don't even care about like the middle upper class. If you have money and you have food and you can't eat, we need to make sure that the people who are struggling and suffering are able to work these things through and make it. Now, the problem is you've got people who can't afford to feed their kids, and you've got Gen Z that feels like right now there is no path forward.
Yeah.
So when we look at these stocks, and I'll give you this, the income of the top 10% of this country is, let's see, as of 2024, you need to make $150,000 per year to be considered a top 10% earner in the United States. How many Gen Zers are anywhere near that number? How many at 22 years old, you're supposed to have a kid and be married? That was the average for a millennia. And in this period we're at, boomers hold a disproportionate amount of wealth, and Gen Z holds a disproportionate amount less.
And of debt. They own a disproportionate amount of debt.
They will be saddled with the debt that we continue, our boomers continue to.
You guys asked the question, are tariffs going to make it better for the working class of this country? It's going to take a lot more. Like, let's say tariffs work. And like, I think that we will see a lot of reciprocal relief. Okay. I think, and I'll say again what I said earlier, which I think it's insane that we're upset about applying a 10% tariff to Canada when Canada is putting a 269% tariff on the goods that we're sending there. We can't send butter to Canada without a 269% tariff. Why would we not reciprocate in some way? I don't know if it should be blanket, but I do think we're going to see some reciprocal relief. But unless we see a serious market correction, and that's going to take pain, a serious market correction, Gen Z and these younger millennials will never own a home.
Let's be real.
Because it's not just debt, it's also the cost.
When you see these Democrats screaming that the stocks are dropping, do you know what investors are actually doing right now?
Buying stocks.
That's right. Bargain bin. Get in while you can, because over the past 5 years, you're up 100%. Oh, great. Now's your chance to get back in because you know these tariffs are going to be temporary. Or at the very least, the ramifications we see today will be temporary. And even if the tariffs stick, something is going to change. Stocks go up.
Stocks go up, stocks go down. I think the big question here is if these are long-term tariffs or not. If we see these tariffs come off and other countries decide to come to the table, then this will be a good move, in my opinion. If we have these tariffs tacked on for years, I think it'll just slow down the global economy and hurt both sides. I think free trade's a good thing in most cases. So I think that's what we have yet to see. I suspect he'll take them all off, but if he doesn't, then we're going to start a trade war with most of our trading partners.
Why not? Who
And
cares?
if we see like a 10% tariff on cars, for example, people can't afford cars already.
Come here. Buy American.
Even American cars will still be more
American
expensive.
cars have gotten really exploitative, though. Look at what Stellantis has done. Stellantis has literally driven up all of their prices, cut all of their quality, hurt their union members, and have literally injured their customers by refusing to do recalls on deadly issues with their vehicles. Like, Stellantis is a nightmare right now.
The used car market is trash.
Yes, they do.
And people can't afford cars to begin with, not to mention their insurance and gas. And now we're going to make them more expensive. Obviously, I could see the issues here. And when you really start hitting consumers is the issue. And also, allegedly, there are real problems with how they formulated these numbers. I'm not an economist, but
There's actually not. I actually don't think so. The White House administration actually released a statement on how they calculated the number. The number actually says currency manipulation, trade barriers, and I think this says tariffs. Let me make sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tariffs charged to the U.S., including currency manipulation and trade barriers. They basically took the trade deficit divided by the surplus or something like that. What they're basically saying is this is the percentage by which we are giving them a benefit. So we're cutting that in half and charging them on their products coming into us. The idea being they don't buy enough from us. So it's not necessarily a tariff. And the funny thing is there's this great analysis. This guy, I think his name was Oren Cass or whatever. I think is his name. I could be getting your name wrong, buddy. Sorry. And he wrote in February, Trump's response to trade imbalance will likely be tariffs. This doesn't mean he's saying they tariff me, I tariff you. But economists, of course, are going to lose their minds over this. It's crazy to me that they're going to make up any reason to say Trump is wrong when the intent is clear. We can buy, we can give them money, but they have barriers and blocks on us. So when we try to sell, we try to sell and make money off them, it doesn't work.
That's why I support more the reciprocity tariffs than I do like just blanket tariffs. I think reciprocal tariffs are actually intelligent for a negotiating perspective.
Look at this tweet's really funny. He said Nike shifted production from China to Vietnam to sidestep tariffs, only to get hit with new, bigger ones. That makes me so happy. So happy. Look at this. China, 34% tariff. And then you've got Vietnam, 46. Nike stock is down 14.44% today. I'm good with it. I'm happy about it. They make their shoes in Vietnam. We need products made in America to support American jobs. This idea that we were going to be the capital city of the Hunger Games of the world and that a country could survive with no one being able to do any work or know how to do work. What you end up getting, you want to know what you end up getting when you have a population that doesn't do any work? You get woke. You get communists. You get DEI. No, work is a good thing. People need passions. They need drive, and they have to build things. So when they took it all away and gave it away, like, now we're going to get free, cheap stuff. Nope. So I just absolutely love how this played out.
There are a ton of reasons that the working class are being hit from all sides, especially in the younger generations. Okay, it is foolish of us to suggest these tariffs are not going to lead to layoffs in the working class. They are going to lead to pain for the working class. However, there are other issues that are at play. Historically, for every $1 that a product went up based on inflation, 93 cents of that dollar increase went back into the economy, either through reinvestment in higher wages or through new factories or through price relief when there was severe inflation. Right now, 6 cents of every dollar increase in the average product in America is going back into the economy, and all of it's being funneled to the hands of a very few individuals.
Yep.
Okay, there has been a massive shift. And last time I was on here, we talked about Dodge versus Ford. It's a court case, very famous court case that kind of started this spiral, in my opinion, in a lot of ways. Ford was trying to be a good employer. I'm not going to say anything about how good of a company they were based on some of the things they did. They were trying to be a good employer and a good neighbor. They wanted to increase wages for their workers. They wanted to reinvest in new factories. They wanted to lower prices on their cars. Dodge sued them, and they said, by law, you have to serve your shareholders instead of your employees, so you're not allowed to raise their wages. And Dodge won. And it made the precedent that has governed all court cases ever since, that says that all corporations now have a duty to their shareholders and never the communities or their employees. And that started the spiral of lack of reinvestment into our economy. And then we continued allowing the tax breaks that come on the back of that. But we could have created a circumstance where we incentivized reinvestment through tax breaks. Instead, we gave blanket tax breaks, even negotiated tax breaks for coming to certain areas, versus incentivizing the behavior that would reinvigorate the economy. That's a mistake we've made. And if we don't put those guardrails back on, if we don't fix that, we can't fix the way that things need to go.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.